So Man United new boy Andrey Santos, he was born in Rio 2004. And his football story started with a wee bit pretty unusual reason. He was 4 years old and apparently he was a wee bit chunky. So his gran, Sueli, sent him along to Bangu's futsal school. Not because she thought she found the next future of Brazil's midfield. She just wanted the boy to lose a wee bit of timber. His granny took him a training tour a week. His mum and dad took him to games at the weekend. And what started off as a way of getting him moving quickly became an obsession. His family said it didn't matter if he was on his bike or flying a kite. The second the football appeared, everything else got forgotten about. Plan was just to get Andre doing a wee bit of exercise. Instead, his granny accidentally started his football career, and it wouldn't be long before that career had its first proper setback. You see, not long after Andre had started playing football, his family got a proper scare. When he was about 5 or 6, the right side of his face suddenly became paralysed. His dad said it looked like it was a stroke. It was terrifying to see, and it must have been horrific for the family to watch. Andre had to go through physiotherapy, and he ended up away from futsal school for around 9 months. His coach was trying to get the family to get him back into it, thinking that would help speed his recovery up. His family wasn't too sure, but eventually they agreed. Andre returned. He kept going, even as a young kid. He was pretty damn quiet as a boy, pretty shy. His mum sometimes had to ask other kids if he could join in because Andre was just too shy to ask for himself. But once the ball was at his feet, he was completely different. He'd get kicked, he'd fall over, he'd get straight back up, he'd carry on playing. And that quiet wee boy, he would eventually grow into a captain. Okay, now when Andre was around 6 years old, he played against Vasco while representing Bangu. And Vasco, they really liked what they saw. So in 2011, he joined their academy. So he's been at Vasco since he was 6 years old and he basically grew up there. Vasco wasn't just the club that he played for. They helped with his schooling, they fed him, they developed him right through every age group. His family were making plenty of sacrifices too. His dad was working 2 or 3 jobs. His mum was travelling across Rio with Andre in his Vasco kit while he was carrying his baby sister at the same time. Andre just kept moving through the academy, often playing well above his age group. Then in 2021, at just 16 years old, he makes his first team debut, and a year later he becomes a regular. They helped Vasco win a promotion back to Brazil's top division. They started looking like one of the best young midfielders in the country. The wee boy who joined Vasco at 6 now spent pretty much of his entire life preparing for this moment. He did not fail to deliver. Okay, now by this point, Andre was already playing for Brazil at youth level, but in 2023, he really kicked on. He really started making a name for himself. At just 18 years old, he captained Brazil at the South American Under-20 Championships. And despite being a midfielder, he finished the tournament as joint top scorer with 6 goals. He even scored in the final game against Uruguay as Brazil won 2-0, and that captain lifted the trophy. He wasn't just part of a successful team, he was the captain. He was one of the biggest goal threats from midfield, one of the standout players in the whole tournament, which is a decent jump from being that shy guy asking other kids if he could join in. Not long after that, he gets his first call up to the Brazil senior squad. He made his debut against Morocco at just 18. By then, the biggest clubs in Europe were already watching him, and Chelsea had already decided their next move. So then in January 2023, Chelsea opened for checkbook and they signed Andre from Vasco. He was only 18 years old, and for the first time of his life, he was leaving Brazil. He was leaving his family, and the only club he'd been at since he was 6 years old. When his agent first told him Chelsea were interested, he could barely sleep for a week. But the move didn't exactly get off to a smooth start. His work permit was rejected, so even though he was a Chelsea player, he had to go back to Vasco on loan. But eventually he joined up with Chelsea, and straight away they sent him to Nottingham Forest. The idea was to get him regular Premier League football. Instead, in 6 months, he played twice, once in the League Cup, once in the Premier League, and that was it. He already struggled with a jump in intensity after arriving in England. Then at Forest, he wasn't even getting the chance to play. Andre later admitted that his confidence had dropped so much, but he started wondering if he even knew how to play football anymore. Anyway, Chelsea brought him back in January 2024, and again they sent him out, but this time to Strasbourg. And that was a move that completely changed everything. They started playing him regularly. He learned French, became one of their most important players, and slowly started looking like himself again. He enjoyed it so much he went back for a full season after that. By the end of that spell, Strasbourg, they qualified for European football, and Andre was trusted once or twice to even wear the captain's armband. Now that is as a lone player. I've never known it to happen. A lone player, captain of the club. Okay, it was only for a few games, but he didn't even belong to that club and they still trusted him to lead that team. The player who'd barely kicked a ball at Forest had rebuilt his confidence in France, and now he was heading back to Chelsea, ready to fight for his place. So after rebuilding himself in France, Andre went back to Chelsea, this time with far more confidence. He played during their Club World Cup win, and he stayed there for the entire season. But getting a regular place in midfield, it was never going to be easy. Ahead of him was Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. That's two midfielders that Chelsea spent over £200 million on. So they were probably going to play a few games. Andre still made plenty of appearances, but he never quite became that automatic starter. After seeing what regular football had done for him at Strasbourg, sitting behind Enzo and Caicedo was not ideal. He'd proved he could handle Europe. He'd proved he could be a star player. He'd rebuilt his confidence and now he needed somewhere to go where he could properly establish himself, and that's where the next chapter begins. And that chapter was, of course, Man United. We agreed a reported deal worth 48 million with another 2 million in add-ons. For a 22-year-old, Andrey Santos became a Man United player. He arrives as somebody who's already had to rebuild his career once. He's played in Brazil, England, France. He's captained his country at youth level. He's wore the armband for a Strasbourg team as a lone player. He fought his way back after a spell that completely knocked his confidence. Now he gets the chance to properly establish himself at Old Trafford. His granny, who originally sent him to futsal because she wanted him to lose a wee bit of weight, 18 years later, that decision has taken him all the way to Manchester United, all the way to Old Trafford. Bring it on, wee man.